I adore the Lord of the universe, bearing the name of Ram, the chief of Raghu's line. Raghu is the family name, and the crest jewel of kings, the mine of compassion, the dispeller of all sins, appearing in human form through his maya, through his illusion, through his deluding potency. He just appears to be a human being. The greatest of all gods, knowable through the Vedanta, constantly worshipped by the Creator and by Shiva, the destroyer, and Sesha, the serpent god, who holds up the universe. The bestower of supreme peace in the form of final beatitude, placid, eternal, beyond the ordinary means of cognition, sinless, and all-pervading. There is no other craving in my heart, O Lord of the Raghus. I speak the truth, and you are the spirit indwelling the hearts of all. Grant me intense devotion to your feet, O crest jewel of Raghus, and free my mind from faults like concupiscence, etc. That is all Tulsidas talking to Ram. I bow to the son of the wind god. This is Hanuman now, because Hanuman is the son of the wind. The beloved devotee of Sri Rama, chief of the monkeys, the repository of all virtues, the foremost among the wise, a fire to consume the forest of the demon race, possessing a body shining as a mountain of gold, and a home of immeasurable strength. Now starts the story. In the previous chapter, Jambavan had told Hanuman that he was the only one that could do this task of jumping across the water between India and Ceylon to find out what's happening with Sita, the wife of Ram. Hanuman was much delighted at heart to hear the heartening speech of Jambavan. He said, quote, "Suffering hardships and living on bulbs, roots, and fruits, wait for me, brethren," he's talking to all the monkeys, "till I return after seeing Sita. I am sure our object will be accomplished, as I feel very cheerful." So saying, and after bowing his head to them all, he set out full of joy with an image of Ram enshrined in his heart. There was a beautiful hill on the seacoast. He lightly sprang onto its top, and invoking the hero of Raghu's line, Ram, again and again, he's doing mantra, Ram, 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 Ram. The son of the wind god took a leap with all his might. The hill on which Hanuman planted his foot while leaping sank down immediately into the nethermost region, called Patala. Hanuman sped forth in the same way as the unerring shaft of Sri Rama. Sri Rama's bow and arrow. See, he's flying through the air now, leaping across to Ceylon, to Lanka. Knowing him to be Sri Rama's emissary, the deity presiding over the ocean spoke to Mount Manaka. Mount Manaka is a mountain that was under the ocean. "Relieve him of his fatigue, O Manaka, by allowing him to rest on you." But Hanuman simply touched the mountain with his hand, made obeisance to it, saying, "There can be no rest for me until I have accomplished Sri Rama's work." You're starting to hear the purity of his commitment. I mean, there's nothing going for him. He's just out to do this job because he's a pure instrument of God in a sense. The gods saw the son of the wind god, that's Hanuman, sweeping along, and in order to test his extraordinary strength and intelligence, they sent Surasa, a mother of serpents, who came near to him and said, "Ah, the gods have provided me a meal today." On hearing these words, the son of the wind god said in reply, "Let me return after accomplishing Sri Rama's errand and tell my lord the news of Sita. Then I will approach you and enter your mouth. I tell you the truth, mother. Only let me go now. Let me do my gig, and then I'll come back and you can eat me if you want to." When, however, she would not let him go on any account, Hanuman said, "Then why not devour me?" She distended her mouth to a distance of 8 miles, while the chief of monkeys grew double the size of her mouth. She stretched her mouth to a circumference of 128 miles, and the son of the wind god immediately took a form covering 256 miles. Even as Sarasa expanded her jaws, the chief of the monkeys manifested a form twice as large as her mouth. When she further expanded her mouth 800 miles wide, the son of the wind god assumed a very minute form by which he entered her mouth, came out, bowed his head to her, and begged her leave to proceed. "I have gauged the extent of your wit," she said, "and strength, the errand for which the gods dispatched me." That is, you've passed the test, go on. "You will accomplish all the work of Sri Rama, a storehouse that you are of strength and intelligence." Having blessed Hanuman, she departed, and Hanuman too joyfully resumed his journey through the air. There was a demoness who dwelt in the ocean and would catch the birds in the air by conjuring tricks. Seeing on the surface of the water the reflection of the creature that coursed in the air, she would catch it, and the bird was unable to move. In this way, she would devour birds every day. She'd just catch their shadow. She employed the same trick against Hanuman, but the chief of monkeys at once saw through the game. The valiant son of the wind god dispatched her and swept across the ocean, resolute of mind as he was. Reaching the other shore, he gazed on the loveliness of the forest with the bees humming in quest of honey. Lanka was the fortress of Ravana, and Ravana was the king of all of the universes on many of the lower planes. He was a very, very powerful being. He had had a boon from Shiva, he had 10 heads. And the reason he got the boon was he cut off all of his heads and offered them to Shiva. And Shiva gave him this boon of making him all-powerful. Except he isn't God, so he doesn't have, he's got the final ego power. He's very puffed up with his own feeling of self-importance and that he can really change the world, you see. And he's now decided he wants the Shakti of God. He wants all of the divine power. See? So he's stolen the Shakti away, but she's having nothing to do with him. And Ravana's knocking his 10 heads against the wall, trying to figure out how to seduce Sita, see? And she's having no part of it. And so Hanuman is now coming here, and this kingdom of Lanka is exquisitely beautiful. Trees of various kinds look charming with fruits and flowers, because this is all the worldly pleasures you can get. And he was particularly delighted at heart to see the numerous birds and beasts. Beholding a huge mountain ahead of him, he fearlessly ran up to its summit. Hanuman didn't deserve any credit for this. It was all attributable to the glory of the Lord, who devours death himself. That is, that Hanuman developed all his power because of his total surrender. And the significance of this concept is exactly what the whole tradition of surrender to the Guru is about. Climbing up the hill, Hanuman surveyed Lanka, a most marvelous fortress that defied description. It was very high and was enclosed by the ocean on all sides. The ramparts of gold shed luster all around. The charming city was enclosed by a fortification wall of gold, inlaid with precious stones of various kinds, contained many beautiful houses, crossroads, bazaars, lovely streets and lanes, and was decorated in every way. Who could count the multitude of elephants, horses, and mules, the crowds of foot soldiers and chariots, and the troops of demons of every shape, a formidable host beyond all description? Ravana had all of the demons there in his army. Groves and orchards, gardens and parks, lakes and also wells, big and small, looked charming. daughters of human beings, Nagas, those are a form of astral being, gods and Gandharvas, who were the celestial musicians, enraptured with their beauty the minds of even hermits. That means even yogis got hooked on the beauty of the sensual trip. Here roared mighty wrestlers endowed with huge mountain-like forms. They grappled with one another in many ways in different courts and challenged one another to a duel. Myriads of champions possessing frightful forms sedulously guarded the city on all sides. Elsewhere, the vile demons feasted on buffaloes, human beings, cows, donkeys, and goats. Tulsidas has briefly told their story. This is Tulsidas talking. Only because they will drop their bodies at the sanctuary of Sri Rama's arrows and thereby attain the supreme state. When a being is killed by God, it becomes enlightened, because this is a whole other level of the concept of war and killing and so on. And it's a very hard one for us even to reflect upon at this moment in the West. Seeing a host of guards defending the city, the chief of the monkeys thought to himself, "Let me assume a very minute form and enter the city at night." So Hanuman assumed the form as small as a gnat, and invoking the Lord in human semblance, Ram, that is, he prayed to Ram, and he heads towards Lanka. At the gateway of Lanka lived a demoness, Lankini by name. "Where should you be going, heedless of me?" she said. "Fool, have you not been able to know who I am? Every thief hereabout is my food." The great monkey dealt her such a blow with his fist that she toppled down, vomiting blood. Then, recovering herself, Lankini stood up and, joining her palms in dismay, humbly addressed him. Quote, "When Brahma granted Ravana the boon he had asked for," that is, when Ravana got all his powers, "the Creator furnished me with the following clue to the extermination of the demon race." And he said, "When you get discomforted by a blow from a monkey, know that all is over with the demon race. I must have earned very great merit, dear Hanuman, that I have been blessed with the sight of Sri Rama's own messenger." Okay, you can feel the flip-overs as everybody realizes what they're in the presence of. She's a very high being who's just working out a form of being a demon. In one scale of the balance, dear son, put together the delights of heaven and the bliss of final beatitude, but they will all be outweighed by a moment's joy derived from communion with the saints. That is, to be around high beings is really a strengthener of faith that's incredible. Enter the city with the Lord of Ayodhya, that's Ram, enshrined in your heart, and accomplish all of your business. Poison is transformed into nectar. Foes turn into friends. The ocean contracts itself to the size of a cow's footprint. Fire becomes cool, and Mount Meru, O Garuda, appears like a grain of sand to him on whom Sri Ram has cast his benign look. That is, once you've surrendered, just started to listen for how it all is rather than thinking you know, suddenly everything becomes easy for you to do. And this has to do with all of what are called the yogic powers, by the way. It has to do with surrender. The more you surrender your ego, the more you tune into the place where all energy of the universe is, and it becomes working through you. It's not your energy, but it's all available through you in service to the divine law. Hanuman assumed a very minute form, and invoking Ram, he entered the city. He ransacked every mansion, and he saw countless warriors here and there. Then he made his way into Ravana's palace, which was marvelous beyond words. He saw the demon chief buried in sleep, but he did not find Sita there. He then noticed another splendid building with a temple sacred to Sri Hari, to the Lord, standing apart. There's a Ram temple right in the middle of Ravana's kingdom. And the mansion had the weapons, the bow and arrow of Ram, painted on its walls, and it was beautiful beyond words. The monkey chief rejoiced to see the clusters of young tulsi plants. The tulsi is the sacred wood of the Vaishnavite tradition of Ram. Lanka is the abode of a gang of demons, Hanuman thought. How could a pious man take up his residence here? While the monkey chief was thus reasoning within himself, Vibhishan, Ravana's younger brother, woke up. Now, Vibhishan is the younger brother, but he happens to be a secret Ram Bhakta. He began to repeat Sri Ram's name in prayer, and Hanuman was delighted at heart to find a virtuous soul. So Hanuman said, I better make his acquaintance, for one's cause never suffers at the hands of a good man. Having thus resolved, he assumed the form of a Brahmin and accosted Vibhishan, who's the brother of Ravana. And he said hello. And as soon as Vibhishan heard Hanuman's words, he rose and came where the latter was. Bowing low, he inquired after the Brahmin's welfare. The Brahmin is the highest caste. It's the holy man caste in India. Tell me all about you, holy sir. Are you one of the Lord's own servants? My heart is filled with exceeding love at your sight. See, even though Hanuman is disguised as Brahmin, as just a regular Brahmin, Vibhishan is feeling this incredible vibration from him, because Hanuman is, after all, the purest statement of the servant of Ram. He's really absolutely pure. It's like Christ saying, I and my Father are one. It's that same place. Hanuman is considered the breath of Ram. That's how close they are. He's doing his Father's work, if you will. And so Vibhishan feels this thing, and he said, my heart was filled with exceeding love at your sight. Or maybe you are Ram himself, a loving friend of the poor who's come to bless me by your sight. Thereupon Hanuman told him all about Sri Ram and disclosed his identity as well. The moment Vibhishan heard this, a thrill ran through the body of both of them, and they were transported with joy at the thought of Ram's hosts of virtues. You can see them both standing there just trembling with joy at the thought of Ram, because Ram is just such a pure being. You know, when I talk about Ram's purity, it's funny what kind of an internal double take I'm doing, because we have such a hard time in the West dealing with this kind of purity in beings. Then Vibhishan says to Hanuman, hear, O son of the wind god, how I am living here. Because here he is living in the middle. Remember the guy that called us earlier in the evening that said, it's hard to do this in the middle of New York City? This is Vibhishan talking now. See, hear, O son of the wind god, how I am living here. My plight is similar to that of the poor tongue that lives in the midst of the teeth. Beautiful image. Will the Lord of the solar race, will Ram ever show his grace to me, knowing me to be masterless? See, he's a demon, so he's got a living out a karma where he can't do the traditional thing. And so he's saying, will Ram ever even notice me? Endowed as I am with a sinful, demoniac form, I'm incapable of doing any sadhana. I'm capable of doing anything for God realization. And my heart cherishes no love for the Lord's lotus feet. I can't even love God purely. The woman that called and said, I can't even love God. See, that's exactly this Vibhishan's complaint. But I am now confident, Hanuman, that Sri Rama will shower his grace on me, for one can never meet a saint without Sri Hari's grace. He couldn't have even met Hanuman without the grace. It is only because the hero of Raghu's race has been kind to me that you have blessed me with your sight unsolicited. Then Hanuman says, listen, Vibhishan, the Lord is ever affectionate to his servants, for such is his wont. That's his way. Tell me, what superior birth can I claim? I'm a frivolous monkey. I'm vile in every way. I'm so vile that if anyone mentions our name, monkey's names, early in the morning, he's sure to go without any food that day. Listen, my friend, though I am so wretched, the hero of Raghu's race, Ram, has shown his grace even to me, and his eyes filled with tears as he recalled the Lord's virtues. It is not to be wondered that those who knowingly forget such a Lord and go adrift should be unhappy. Thus recounting Sri Rama's virtues, Hanuman derived unspeakable solace. Then Vibhishan fully narrated how Sita had been living there. Thereupon Hanuman said, listen, brother, I should like to see Mother Sita. Vibhishan fully explained to him the method of seeing her, and the son of the wind god took leave of Vibhishan and proceeded on his errand. Assuming the same minute form as he had taken before, he repaired to the Ashoka grove where Sita dwelt. He mentally bowed to her as soon as he saw her. Obviously, she had been squatting away the hours of the night. Emaciated in body, she wore a single braid of matted hair on her head and repeated to herself the list of Sri Rama's excellences. She had her eyes fixed on her own feet, while her mind was absorbed in the thought of her husband's lotus feet. The son of the wind god felt supremely miserable to see Sita so sad. Now, who is Sita? Sita is our beings when we're separate from the merging with God. See, that's exactly who Sita is now. She's been separated by the world of desire, by Ravana, and she's feeling that longing, that thing that we all get into, that longing to merge back in. Concealing himself among the leaves of a tree, he mused within himself, well, what should I do? At that very moment, Ravana arrived. Now comes the bad guy, gaily adorned and accompanied by a troop of women. The wretch tried to prevail upon her in many ways through friendly advice, allurements, threats, and estrangement. Said Ravana, listen, O beautiful and wise lady. I will make Mandodari, that was his chief queen, I will make Mandodari and all the other queens your handmaids, I swear, provided you cast your look on me only once. Fixing her thoughts on her most beloved lord, Sita rejoined, listen, O 10-headed monster. Can a lotus flower ever expand in the glow of a firefly? Ponder this at heart. Perhaps you have no idea what Sri Rama's arrows are like, O wretch. You carried me off at a time when there was none by my side, yet you do not feel ashamed, O vile and impudent rogue. Hearing himself likened to a glowworm and Sri Rama compared to the sun, and exasperated at her harsh words, the monster drew out his sword and said, Sita, you have offered me an insult. I will accordingly cut off your head with my relentless sword. If not, obey my command at once, or else you lose your life, O beautiful lady. Then Sita, she says, my lord's arm is lovely as a string of blue lotuses, and shapely and long as the trunk of an elephant. O 10-headed monster, either that arm or your dreadful sword will have my neck. Hear this, my solemn vow, O fool. And then she turns to Ravana's glittering scimitar, sword which is called Chandrahasa, and she says, take away, O Chandrahasa, the burning anguish of my heart caused by the fire of separation from the Lord of the Raghus. You possess a cool, sharp, and good blade. Therefore relieve the burden of my sorrow, Sita said. On hearing these words, he rushed forward to kill her. But it was Queen Mandodari who intervened and pacified him with words of good counsel. Summoning all the demonesses posted there, he said, go and intimidate Sita in every way. If she does not accept my advice, in a month's time I'll draw my sword and behead her. Having issued these instructions, the 10-headed Ravana returned to the palace, while a host of fiendesses in the Ashoka grove assumed various kinds of hideous forms and intimidated Sita. One of these demonesses, Trijata by name, was devoted to Sri Rama's feet and perfect in spiritual wisdom. She summoned all her companions, told them her dream, and exhorted them to serve Sita and thus bless themselves. This is the dream of one of the witches. She said, in my dream, a monkey burnt the entire city of Lanka, and the whole demon host was killed. And as for 10-headed Ravana, I saw him mounted on a donkey, all naked, with his head shorn and his 20 arms chopped off. In this fashion he went his way to the south, that means to death. And it so appeared that Lanka had passed into the hands of Vibhishan, who's Ravana's brother. Ram's victory was proclaimed throughout the city, and it was then that Ram sent for Sita. I proclaim this dream is going to come true in a few days hence. They were all dismayed to hear her words, and they fell at the feet of Sita. Then they all dispersed in various directions, and Sita anxiously thought within herself, at the end of a long month, this vile monster will slay me. With joined palms, she said to Trijata, that's Sita, Mother, you're my only companion in adversity. Therefore, quickly devise some means whereby I may be enabled to cast off this body. For this desolation, which is so hard to bear, can no longer be endured. Bring some wood and put up a pyre, and then my mother set fire to it. Thus prove the genuineness of my love for the Lord, O wise lady. Who will stand Ravana's words that pierce the air like a shaft? On hearing these words, Trijata clasped Sita's feet and comforted her by recounting the majesty, might, and glory of Ram. And Trijata answers, Listen, O tender lady, no fire can be had at night. I mean, I can't do anything for you. I can't burn you up. And so saying, she left for her residence. Sita said to herself, Heaven itself has turned hostile to me. There is no fire to be had, and I cannot be cured of my agony any other way. Sparks of fire are visibly seen in the heavens. She's talking about the stars. But not a single one drops to the earth. The moon, though all fire, refuses to rain sparks, as if conscious of my wretchedness. Hear my prayer, O Ashoka tree. The grove has Ashoka trees, which are, the leaves are red like fire. Take away my sorrow and answer to your name. The word Ashoka means that which ends sorrow. Your fresh and tender leaves bear the color of flames. Therefore supply me with fire. Do not aggravate my agony beyond limits. The moment seemed like an age to Hanuman, as he beheld Sita extremely distressed due to her separation from her lord. Then taking thought within himself, Hanuman dropped down the signet ring. Ram had given him his ring, as though the Ashoka tree had thrown a spark in response to her prayer. She sprang up with joy and took it in her hand. Now she saw the charming ring with the name of Sri Ram most beautifully engraved in it. Recognizing the ring, she looked at it with wonder and was agitated at heart with a mixed feeling of joy and sorrow. Who can conquer the invincible lord of the Raghus? And such a divine ring cannot be prepared through Maya, meaning a conjuring trick or illusion. Maya is considered the word for illusion. As Sita thus indulged in fancies of various kinds, figuring out where it came from, Hanuman spoke in honeyed accents, and he began to recount Sri Ram's praises. He's up in the tree just telling her, talking to her about Ram. The moment they reached Sita's ears, her grief took flight. She listened with all her soul and ears while Hanuman narrated the whole story from the very beginning. Then Sita says, Wherefore does she who has told this tale, which is like nectar to my ears, wherefore does she not reveal herself? Thereupon Hanuman drew near her, while Sita sat with her back turned towards him, full of amazement. The minute she saw him, she turned her back. And he said, I am Sri Ram's messenger, Mother Janaki. It's another name for Sita. I solemnly swear by the all-merciful Lord himself. This ring has been brought by me, O Mother. Sri Ram gave it to me as a token for you. Sita says, "Tell me, what brought about this fellowship between a man and a monkey?" Then Hanuman explained the circumstances in which a union was brought about between men and monkeys. As she heard the monkey's affectionate words, her soul trusted him, and she recognized him to be a servant of the all-merciful Lord in thought, word, and deed. Perceiving him to be a devotee of Sri Hari, she developed an intense affection for him. Her eyes filled with tears, and a thrill ran through her body. "To me, who was being drowned in the ocean of desolation, dear Hanuman, you've come as a veritable bark. Now tell me, I adjure you, the welfare of all blissful Sri Ram and his younger brother Lakshman. Wherefore has the tender-hearted and compassionate Lord of the Raghus, Ram, become so hard-hearted? Does the chief of the Raghus ever remember me? He who is by natural disposition a source of delight to his servants. Will my eyes, dear Hanuman, be ever gladdened by the sight of his swarthy and delicate limbs?" Words failed her, and her eyes swam with tears. "Oh, my Lord, you have entirely forgotten me. I've fallen out of grace, I'm lost," she'd say. Seeing Sita sore distressed due to her separation from her Lord, Hanuman addressed her in soft and polite accents. "The Lord and his younger brother Lakshman are both doing well, Mother, except for the fact that the All-Merciful is sorrowful because of your sorrows. Do not feel vexed at heart, Mother. Rama loves you twice as much as you love him. Love of a totally pure being is without any condition. It's total love. And your love as a separate being can only be partial love. And so Ram's love for Sita is greater than Sita's love for Ram. So he's saying, don't worry. He's really there. Mother, compose yourself now and hear the message of Sri Ram." Even as he uttered these words, the monkey's voice was choked with emotion, and his eyes filled with tears. Sri Ram said, "Ever since I have been separated from you, Sita, everything to me has become its very reverse. The fresh and tender leaves on the trees look like tongues of fire. Nights appear as dreadful as the night of final dissolution, and the moon scorches like the sun. Beds of lotuses are like so many spears planted on the ground, while rain clouds pour boiling oil, as it were. Those that were friendly before have now become tormenting. The cool, soft, and fragrant breezes are like the breath of a serpent. One's agony is assuaged to some extent even by speaking of it." This is Ram speaking. "But to whom shall I speak about it? For there's no one who will understand." This is the great loneliness of God. See? "The reality about the cord of love that binds you and me, dear, is known to my soul alone, and my soul ever abides with you. Know this to be the essence of my love." Videya's daughter was so absorbed in love the moment she heard the Lord's message, she lost all consciousness of her body. Said the monkey, "Mother, collect yourself. Fix your thoughts on Sri Ram, the delight of his servants. Reflect on the glory of the Lord of the Raghus, and shake off all faint-heartedness upon my word. The hosts of demons are like so many moths." This is Hanuman reassuring Sita. "All these demons are like moths, while the shafts of the Lord of the Raghus, Ram, are like flames. They'll burn up the moths. Have courage in your heart, Mother, and take the demons as consumed. Figure it's all over. Had the hero of Raghu's line, had Ram, any news about you, he wouldn't have tarried. The moment Ram's arrows make their appearance, like the sun, the demon host would be scattered like the shadows of night. Mother, I take you to him this very moment, but I swear by Ram, I have no orders from the Lord. Therefore, wait patiently for some days more, Mother, till the hero of Raghu's line arrives with the troops of monkeys, Slaughtering the demons, he will take you away, while sages glorify him in all the three spheres of creation. Now remember, Hanuman's made himself very small to do this, and so he won't scare Sita. So she says, but my son, all the monkeys must be pygmies like you, whereas the demons are mighty and great warriors. I have grave misgivings in my heart on this score. On hearing this, the monkey revealed his natural form. Colossal as a mountain of gold, terrible in battle, possessing great might and full of valor. Sita now took comfort in her heart, and the son of the wind god thereupon resumed his diminutive appearance. Listen, mother, monkeys possess no great strength or intelligence either. But through Ram's might, the most tiny snake could swallow Garuda. Sita felt very gratified at heart, even as she heard the monkey's words full of devotion and revealing Sri Ram's majesty, glory, and strength. Recognizing him as the beloved of Sri Ram, she gave him her blessing. May you become a repository of strength and virtue, dear child. May you ever remain immune from old age and death. It doesn't mean your body won't become old and die, but you, because of your pure state of consciousness, you will not experience old age or death. May you ever remain immune from old age and death and prove to be a storehouse of good qualities. And may Ram shower his abundant grace upon you. The moment the words, "May the Lord be gracious to you," reached his ears, Hanuman was utterly overwhelmed. Again and again the monkey bowed his head at her feet and with joined palms addressed her thus, "I have now accomplished all that I had to accomplish, my mother, for your blessing everyone knows is unfailing. Listen, mother, I'm feeling frightfully hungry at the sight of these trees laden with delicious fruits." Because after all, he's a monkey. "I tell you, my son, this grove is guarded by most valiant and mighty demons. Mother, I'm not afraid of them, but I have to have your approval first." Realizing the monkey's strength and wit, Sita said, "Go on, my son, and enjoy the luscious fruit, but keep your heart fixed on Ram's feet." Bowing his head, he went forth and entered the grove, and having eaten the fruit, he began to break down the trees, because that's what monkeys do, of course. A number of warriors had been posted there as guards. Some of them were killed by him, while the rest took flight and cried for help. "Oh, Lord, a huge monkey has made his appearance and laid waste the Ashoka grove. He's eaten fruits, uprooted trees, and having crushed the watchmen, laid them on the ground." On hearing this, Ravana, who is now the bad man, the king, dispatched a number of his champions. Hanuman roared when he saw them and slaughtered the whole demon host. A few that had survived, though well nigh killed, escaped screaming. Ravana then sent Prince Aksha, who sallied forth with a vast number of his best warriors. Seeing them approach, Hanuman seized a tree and threatened them, and having overthrown the prince, roared with a loud yell. Keep in mind, this is like the Bhagavad Gita. This is the inner battle between the worldly Ravana and the pure forces of the Atman, or Ram, or the higher place in oneself. This is the way the battle often feels inside, too. Some he slew, some he crushed, some he seized and pounded with dust, and some who escaped cried, "Oh, Lord, the monkey is too strong for us." Ravana, the king of Lanka, flew into a rage when he heard of his son's death, and he sent the mighty Meghanada. Meghanada was another of his sons who was really powerful. "Kill him not, my son, but bind him. Let us see this monkey and ascertain wherefrom he comes." Meghanada, who was the conqueror of Indra, that was the god of the heavens, sallied forth a peerless champion, seized with fury at the news of his brother's death. When Hanuman saw this fierce warrior approach, He gnashed his teeth and with a roar rushed forward to meet him. He tore up a tree of enormous size, then smashed it with the car, thus rendering the crown prince of Lanka without any transport. As for the mighty warriors who accompanied him, Hanuman seized them one by one and crushed them by the weight of his limbs. Having finished them off, he closed with Meghanada. It was like the encounter of two lordly elephants. Striking the opponent with his clenched fist, Hanuman sprang and climbed up a tree, while Meghanada lay unconscious for a moment. Meghanada rose again and resorted to many a delusive device. See, they all had these great powers they were throwing at each other. But the son of the wind god was not to be vanquished. Finally, Meghanada fitted to his bow the arrow known as Brahmastra. And Hanuman thought within himself, if I don't submit to Brahma's own weapon, its glory will be cast to the winds. So he's caught in a predicament. Meghanada launches the Brahmastra against Hanuman, who crushes a whole host of the enemy even as he falls. See, he falls at that point. As soon as Meghanada saw that the monkey had swooned, he entangled the latter in a noose of serpents and carried him off. Now, and this is part of this is the whole story is Shiva telling it to his wife, who's also called Parvati, and Shiva says, Parvati, is it conceivable that the envoy of the Lord, whose very name enables the wise to cut asunder the bonds of mundane existence, should come unto bondage? No, it was in the service of the Lord that Hanuman allowed himself to be bound. You allow yourself to go back into the marketplace, into the world, as part of your service, rather than just staying in the pure state. When the demons heard that the monkey had been captured and noosed, they all rushed to the court to enjoy the spectacle. The monkey arrived and saw Ravana's court. His superb glory baffled description. Even gods and regents of the quarters stood meek with joined palms, all watching the movement of his eyebrows in great dismay. Ravana has 10 heads, so he has 20 eyebrows. But the monkey's soul was no more disturbed by the sight of his power than Garuda, the king of the birds, would be frightened in the midst of a number of serpents, which he loved to eat. When the 10-headed monster saw the monkey, he laughed, and he railed at him. But presently he recalled his son's death and felt sad at heart. Said the king of Lanka, Who are you, monkey, and by whose might have you wrought the destruction of the grove? Have you never heard of my name? I see you're an exceptionally bold wretch. For what offense did you kill the demons? Tell me, fool, are you not afraid of losing your life? Here's Hanuman's answer. Listen, Ravana. Keep in mind him by whose might Maya, nature, brings forth numberless universes. Say, remember who God really is. By whose might, O 10-headed monster, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva carry on their respective functions of creation, preservation, and destruction. By whose might Sesha, the serpent, supports on his head the entire globe, who assumes various forms in order to protect the gods and teach a lesson to wretches like you, who broke Shiva's unbending bow, this is part of history, and crushed with it the pride of a host of princes. And Hanuman continues, he says, he's telling him about, keep in mind who Ram is, and he says, by an iota of whose might, that is Ram's might, you, Ravana, were able to conquer the entire creation, both animate and inanimate, and whose beloved spouse has been stolen away by you. Know me to be his envoy. Man, I come from the source of all the energy you're playing with. I mean, who do you think you are? And then Hanuman continues, I'm aware of your glory. You've had a few distinctions. You've won a few contests. Ravana heard the words of Hanuman, but he laughed them away. And then Hanuman continues and says, I ate the fruit in the grove because I felt hungry. and I broke the boughs as a monkey is wont to do. After all, I'm in the body of a monkey. What do you expect me to do? One's body, my master, is supremely dear to all. I mean, I got to protect my body, and yet those wicked fellows were belaboring me. I had no course left but to return their blows. Still, your son Meghanada put me in bonds. But I'm not at all ashamed of being bound, keen as I am to serve the cause of my lord. I implore you with joined palms, Ravana, give up your haughtiness and heed my advice. Think of your lineage. View things in that perspective. See, he's got a good birth. He was a good high being before, but he's taken a bad birth, but he's really hung up in it. And Hanuman's saying, look, man, realize, look at your incarnations. Realize where you come from. Don't get lost in this one. In any case, disillusion yourself and adore Ram, who dispels the fear of his devotees. Don't antagonize him, who's a source of terror even to death. Even the Lord of Death, Yama, is afraid of Ram, he's saying. That devours all created beings, both animate and inanimate, gods as well as demons. Give him his wife back, at my request. Ram is a protector of the suppliant and an ocean of compassion. If you just go to him, he'll forget your offenses, he'll give you shelter if you but turn to him for protection. I mean, stop this absurdity now, man. Install the image of Sri Rama's lotus feet in your heart and enjoy the uninterrupted sovereignty of Lanka. The glory of your grandfather, who was a great sage, Palastya, shines like the moon without its spot. Don't be a speck in that moon. Don't blow your whole heritage. Speech is charmless without Ram's name. Ponder and see for yourself, casting aside arrogance and infatuation. The fortune and lordship of a man who is hostile to Ram eventually leave him, even if they stay a while and are as good as lost if acquired anew. Rivers that have no perennial source get dried up as soon as the rains are over. Listen, O ten-headed Ravana, I tell you an oath, there is none to save him who is opposed to Ram. Nobody will protect you. Vishnu, Shiva, Brahma, in their thousands won't protect you if you're an enemy of Ram. Abandon pride, which is the same as darkness, rooted as it is in ignorance, and is a source of considerable pain. Adore Lord Sri Rama, the chief of the Raghus, in an ocean of compassion. Although Hanuman gave him exceedingly salutary advice, full of devotion, discretion, dispassion, and wisdom, the haughty Ravana laughed and said, "We have found a most wise guru in this monkey." Turning towards Hanuman, he continued, "Death hangs over your head, O wretch. That's why you're exhorting me, O vile monkey." Hanuman says, just the contrary is going to happen. I'm telling you. I clearly perceive you are laboring under some mental illusion. Hearing these words of Hanuman, Ravana got nettled. Why not some of you quickly kill this fool? As soon as the demons heard it, they rushed forward to kill him. But at that very moment, Vibhishan, Ravana's younger brother, he's a devotee of Ram, a secret devotee of Ram, came in with his counselors. Bowing his head, he made humble entreaty. It's against all statecraft. You can't kill an envoy. You can punish him in some other way, my master. All exclaimed to one another, "This is sound counsel, brother." Hearing this, the ten-headed Ravana laughed with all of his 10 mouths, and he said, "All right, the monkey may be sent back mutilated. A monkey's very fond of his tail. I tell you this secret. Therefore, swathe his tail with rags soaked in oil and set fire to it. Then the tailless monkey will go back, and the wretch will bring his master with him, and I'll have an opportunity of seeing his might, whom he so lavishly exalted." Hanuman smiled to himself on hearing these words, saying, "It looks like it's all working out pretty well." On hearing Ravana's command, the stupid demons started doing as they were bid. Not a rag was left in the city, nor a drop of ghee, clarified butter, or oil. The tail had grown to such a length through Hanuman's playful gesture. Just kept making his tail longer and longer. The citizens thronged to see the fun. They kicked Hanuman and they jeered at him. With beating of drums and clapping of hands, they took him round the city, and then they set fire to his tail. When Hanuman saw the fire blazing, he immediately assumed an utterly diminutive size, slipped out of his bonds, sprang to the attics of the gold palace to the dismay of the demonesses. At that moment, impelled by God, all of the 49 winds in the heavens began to bluster. Hanuman roared with a loud laugh and swelled to such a size that he seemed to touch the sky. Though colossal in size, Hanuman appeared most nimble-bodied. He ran and sprang from palace to palace. The city was all ablaze, and the people were at their wits' end. Terrible flames burst forth in myriads, and piteous cries were heard everywhere. "Oh, Father, ah, my mother, who will save us at this hour? He is no monkey, but some god in the form of a monkey." Such is the result of despising a noble soul. The city's being consumed by fire as though it had no master. In the twinkling of an eye, Hanuman burnt down the whole city, barring the house of Vibhishan and the grove where Sita was. Hanuman went unscathed because he was the messenger of Ram, who created fire itself. See, there's always the up level. He burnt the whole of Lanka from one end to the other, and then he leapt into the ocean. After quenching his tail and relieving his fatigue, he resumed his diminutive form and stood before Sita with joined palms. "Mother, I have to go back now. Be pleased to give me some tokens, such as the Lord of the Raghus gave me." She thereupon unfastened the jewel in her head and gave it to the son of the wind god, who gladly received it. "Convey my obeisance to him, dear son, with these words." These are Sita's words. Her words to God. "My Lord is all sufficient. Yet recalling your vow of kindness to the afflicted, relieve, O Master, my grievous distress. Repeat to him, my son, various episodes, and remind the Lord of the might of his arrows. If the Lord does not arrive here within a month, he will not find me alive. Tell me, Hanuman, how can I preserve my life? For you too, my son, now speak of going. Your sight had brought relief to my heavy heart. I have now before me the same dreary days and weary nights." Reassuring Janaka's daughter, Sita, he consoled her in many ways, and bowing his head at her lotus feet, he set forth to meet Rama. While leaving, he roared aloud with such a terrible noise that the wives of all the demons miscarried. Taking a leap across the ocean, he reached the opposite shore and greeted his fellow monkeys with a shrill cry of joy. He wore a cheerful countenance, and his body shone with a brilliance which left no doubt in their mind that he had executed Ram's commission. When Sri Rama saw the monkeys approaching with their mission duly accomplished, he was particularly delighted at heart. The two brothers were seated on a crystal rock, and all the monkeys went and fell at their feet. The all-merciful Lord of the Raghus embraced them all with affection and asked of their welfare. "All is well with us now that we have seen your lotus feet. Said Jambavan, listen, O Lord of the Raghus, he on whom you bestow your blessings is ever lucky and incessantly happy. Gods, human beings, and sages are all kind to him. He alone is victorious, modest, and an ocean of virtues. His fair renown shines brightly through all the three spheres of creation. Everything's turned out well by the grace of my Lord. It is only today that our birth has been consummated. The achievement of Hanuman, the son of the wind god, cannot be described even with 1,000 tongues. Jambavan then related to the Lord of the Raghus the charming exploits of Hanuman. The All-Merciful felt much delighted at heart to hear them, and in his joy he clasped Hanuman once more to his bosom. Tell me, dear Hanuman, how does Janaka's daughter pass her days and sustain her life? Your name keeps watch night and day, while her continued thought of you acts as a pair of closed doors. She has her eyes fastened on her own feet. Her life thus finds no outlet whereby to escape. When I was leaving, she gave me this jewel from the top of her head. The Lord of the Raghus took it and pressed it to his bosom. My Lord, with tears in both her eyes, Janaka's daughter uttered the following few words. Embrace the feet of my Lord and his younger brother, crying, O befriender of the distressed, reliever of the suppliant's agony, I am devoted to your feet in thought, word, and deed. Yet for what offense, my Lord, have you forsaken me? I do admit one fault of mine, that my life did not depart the moment I was separated from you. That, however, my Lord, is the fault of my eyes, which forcibly prevented my life from escaping. The agony of separation from you is like fire. My sighs fan it as a gust of wind, and in between stands my body like a heap of cotton, which would have been consumed in an instant. But my eyes, in their own interest, that is, for being enabled to feast themselves on your beauty, rain a flood of tears. That is why the body fails to catch the fire of desolation. Sita's distress is so overwhelmingly great, and you are so compassionate to the afflicted, that it's better not to describe it. Each single moment, O Fountain of Mercy, passes like an age to her. Therefore, march quickly, my Lord, and vanquishing the miscreant crew by your mighty arm, recover her. When the all-blissful Lord heard of Sita's agony, tears rushed to his lotus eyes. Do you think anyone who depends on me in thought, word, and deed can ever dream of adversity? Hanuman said, There is no misfortune other than ceasing to remember and adore you. Of what account are the demons to you? Routing the enemy, you will surely bring back Janaka's daughter. Ram said, No one endowed with a body, a god, human being, or sage, has put me under such obligation, Hanuman, as you have done. Even my mind shrinks to face you. How then can I repay your obligation? Listen, my son, I've thought over the question and concluded that the debt which I owe you cannot be repaid. Again and again, as the protector of the gods gazed on Hanuman, his eyes filled with tears, and his body was overpowered with a thrill of emotion. Even as Hanuman listened to the words of his Lord and gazed on his countenance, he experienced a thrill of joy all over his body, and fell at his feet overwhelmed with love and crying, save me from the tentacles of egoism, my Lord. Again and again the Lord sought to raise him up. He, however, was so absorbed in love that he would not rise. The lotus hand of the Lord rested on his head. Shiva, who is telling the story, was overcome with emotion as he called to mind Hanuman's enviable lot. But recovering himself, Shiva resumed the most charming narrative. The Lord lifted up Hanuman and clasped him to his bosom. Then he took him by the hand and seated him very close to him. Tell me, Hanuman, how could you burn Ravana's stronghold of Lanka, a most impregnable fortress? When Hanuman found the Lord so pleased, he replied in words altogether free from pride. A monkey's greatest valor lies in his skipping about from one bough to another, Hanuman said. That I should have been able to leap across the ocean, burn the gold city, kill the demon host, and lay waste the Ashoka grove was all due to your might. No credit, my lord, is due to me for the same. Nothing is unattainable, my lord, to him who enjoys your grace. Through your might, a mere shred of cotton can surely burn a submarine fire. That is, the impossible can be made possible. Therefore, be pleased, my lord, to grant me unceasing devotion, which is a source of supreme bliss. When the Lord, O Parvati, heard the most artless speech of Hanuman, he said, "Be it so." Uma, he who has come to know the true nature of Rama can have no relish for anything other than his worship. Even he who takes this dialogue between Sri Ram and Hanuman to heart is blessed with devotion to Sri Ram's feet. On hearing the words of the Lord, the whole host of monkeys cried, "Glory, glory, all glory to the gracious Lord, the fountain of bliss."
Shri Guru Charana Saroja Nijaramanu Mukuru Sundari Baranu Raghuvara Bimala Jasu Jodaya Kupalachari Buri Nathanu Janke Sumaro Pavana Kumar Bala Buddhi Vidya Devu Mohi Harahu Kali Savika Jaya Hanuman Jnana Guna Sagar Jai Kapi Jati Ulo Ujagara Ramaduta Tulita Baladama Anjani Putra Pavana Sutanama Mahavir Bikama Bajarangi Kumati Niwara Sumati Ke Sangi Kanchagawara Nabiraja Sobisa Kanana Kundala Kunjita Kasa Haita Badra Sankara Suvana Kesari Nanan Teza Pravda Mahajagabanan Vidyavan Guni Atitatu Rama Kajekari Bago Prabhu Charita Tuni Makorasya Rama Lakshana Sita Manabhasya Summaruba Dharisya Indika Vikata Rupadari Langatarawa Bhima Rupadari Asura Sangari Ramachandra Kenkara Sangavari Raya Sajivana Lakshman Jiyai Shri Raghubir Harashi Olai Raghupati King Bahuta Parai Tuma Mama Priya Bharati Samabai Sashabhajana Tumhara Jasa Gavin Astakai Shri Pati Kandara Gavin Sanakadika Brahmadi Munisa Narada Sarada Sahita Hisa Dhamma Kubir Digapala Janti Kabi Kabira Kahi Sangha Kandi Tuma Upakara Sugriwahi Kiha Rama Milaya Rajapadana Neha Tumaharamantra Vipesana Mana Lankisharava Sabha Jagajana Yoga Sahasra Jodana Parabhanu Vilothai Madhura Palajanu Prabhu Mudigamela Muramahi Dalilangi Gaya Acharayanahi Duramakaya Jagata Kajite Sugamanugrathumaharatiti Ramadurare Tumarakavari Udanaya Binupai Sari Sabasukalahi Tumahara Sarana Tumara Chakaka Ugodalana Apanatiza Sambaro Apai Tinoloka Hangatina Kambai Bhutabhisada Nikaganahi Have Mahabhir Dabanam Sun Patanira Tara Hanumata Vira Sankatadina Hanumana Chorai Managram Bhajanadyanjolai Shabba Pararam Tapati Rara Tina Gekara Sakala Dumataya Uraman Murada Nuku Ilawai Suyamira Diwana Palapawai Charan Jaga Paratapadumara Hai Parashira Jagada Ujiyara Sadhu Sandake Tumara Kawari Asura Nikandana Ramadulari Andasinilaniringedata Asavara Dila Janaki Mata Ramarasaya Tumhara Pasa Sadara Hura Gupati Ke Dasa Tumhara Bhajana Ram Vivai Janama Janama Ke Dukha Visarai Undakala Raghubara Purajai Jahan Janama Hari Bhakta Kahani Ordivata Kirana Darai Hanumatale Sarva Sukha Karai Sankata Katai Mitai Sapira Jo Sumirai Hanumata Baravina Jai 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 Hanuman Gosai Kripa Karu Guru Deva Kinai Dosata Bara Bandakara Koi Tutahi Bandi Masuka Hoi Yoya Parai Hanumana Chalisa Oya Siddhi Saki Gauri Sa Tulsidas Sada Hare Chela Kije Nata Hridaya Mahadera Jai Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Jai Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri 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 Ram Jai Bhaji Ramachandra ki jai, Shri Bhavan Hanuman ki jai, Shri Umapati Mahadev ki jai. Om Shri 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 Sant Maharaj ki jai, Bolo Sant Bhagavan ki jai. Om Gangyam Saraswati Madi Jai.